What's up, guys? I actually just got inspired, like, I don't know, a couple minutes ago to start making videos every week. And I had this idea a long time ago because I posted a video that just says week 1 on it. And it's just like me talking about my progress. And at that time I was very new to like this quote unquote kind of like awakening. And I was just like learning so much about myself. And I feel like part of who I am is like I have this very deeply rooted passion to share like my journey in my life with like the world. And so I started making videos, and somewhere I lost it in the process. I wanted that to be a goal of mine, but you know, naturally things happen and whatnot. But I feel like when I did it, you know, like I put so much effort into it, and I kind of made this realization about myself. I've always known it, but it's been better kind of put into frame. Just learning more about my family and how I was when I was a little kid. I tend to view things kind of from like an all or nothing perspective. And I suppose that I had this idea when I do things, like I have to do them a specific way or else I'm not really content with it. So like, for example, going to like being active, like for me, like being active was like going to the gym like 4 to 5 times a week, and like there's a car passing. And anything short of that, like even just like a 10-minute walk or like stretching for 10 minutes or anything like that, like it doesn't really like count as active to me. And so it's kind of like reframing that and realizing like right now I really need to focus on the little, because in my healing journey I've tended to make very large strides and I get burnt out very quickly. Just like the gym, for example, you know, I was going very consistently for like 4 to 5 months, like 4 to 5 times a week, like a lot. I was eating at a deficit, I was overworking myself. Like my life wasn't great. You know, I look back at those times and I miss them because like I have appreciation, and it's like a version of Ariel that I'm not anymore, and I tend to attach value to those things. So it's really hard to let go. It's ego death in a sense, you know. Anyway, I actually like this. I like the raw, authentic takes of just ranting, and that's kind of what inspired me, is seeing someone else do the same thing, of just making videos. And like, even if it doesn't get any views, like that's okay. I'm not looking for views. It's more to just be able to speak and have that type of safe space where I can also share my thoughts. And maybe for other people who tend to find this video or relate. But with my videos, I had this idea that had to look a certain way, but now I'm just like, I'm just gonna raw dog it. The stars where I'm at right now, they're really pretty. Yeah, I'm definitely getting a buzz right now. Cigarettes or something. I want to stop smoking eventually, probably, because I know that they're not good for me. And I think when people say it's, you know, cigarettes or drugs or alcohol that kills, it's really not. It's the addiction. And I think addiction stems from a feeling of inadequacy and a lack of love. And you know, it can be from yourself or it can be from other people. For me, I'm very loved and I'm very privileged and very lucky because I have a lot of people that care about me. I have a very loving family from both sides. I'm actually reconnecting with my dad right now after 5 years of not talking. When I was 13 and my mom died, I was basically legally kidnapped, and I came and lived with my father for 8 months after that because I was living with my grandpa at the time. So my dad had legal custody, but my grandpa was not cooperating with him, and so my dad felt like he had no choice, and he said it was the hardest decision that he's ever had to make, to just come and pick me up with only the clothes on my back. It was the last day of school, and drive me all the way to California. At that time, I think that my stepmom and my dad didn't really know how to approach the situation. There was also just a lot going on in their life. I had a foster sister who was struggling with addiction and had a lot of mental issues at the time. And because my mom had just died and I was ripped away from my home that I've lived in my entire life, I was faced with a lot of grief, and I didn't really get the love or support that I needed during that time. In fact, I felt that the way I was treated really impacted and even traumatized me. eventually my dad kind of realized that I wasn't happy with him, and so he sent me back to live in Utah with my grandpa, who raised me for, you know, a couple more years, raised me, I guess. And because of the way that I was treated, and more just because I felt like my dad had never taken accountability or even said sorry for the way that he treated me, I just didn't reach out, because I felt like an apology for being treated so poorly was not something that I should ever have to ask for. But eventually there was an older man who I was dating for a while, and he's actually who inspired me to make these videos, because I was going back and looking at his YouTube channel. He's been doing this for a really long time, like vlogging, sharing his story, his thoughts, his process, his work, and we don't keep in contact anymore, just because the speed that he was accelerating in his life and the age gap. I don't really think it worked out. I didn't really feel like I was being treated very well, but I kind of woke up and realized, like, this is not how I want to be treated. But I don't know, when I look back at it, you know, there are signs, and like family and friends have said, like, Ariel, like, that's manipulative behavior, but for me, like, it doesn't really matter if it's manipulative or not, because it doesn't devalidate my experience personally, and I really like to see the good in everyone. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I believe that it's really just because people have their own issues that they treat people like that. So I don't think it's like a personal thing, you know, like, it doesn't attach to my worth in that sense. But it's also like that connection I didn't really feel it, because I realized that, and like, because I have a very strong ability to connect with other people. I'm very empathetic, and I carry that weight, I carry that pain for people, and I have for a long time. But I learned to kind of disconnect, and why I have a hard time connecting with others, or, you know, feeling or reciprocating that, is because it's not a disconnect from other people, I realize, but it's a disconnect that I have for myself. And the abuse that has impacted me the most has not been from anyone but me. Obviously, you know, like, when you're under the age of 7, you develop like this ego, from how you're treated, and that affects you a lot, of course, and it kind of built who I was, you know, very rooted in codependency and trauma. But also I, you know, tended to neglect myself and abuse myself, and I kind of picked up on that love language and learned to not, you know, treat myself with the love and respect that I know I inherently deserve, because I'm worthy, because I exist. So I'm trying to foster that connection with myself, and I guess these videos are part of that. And I don't feel like I need to apologize for that anymore, me not being able to reciprocate properly, because the person that I need to forgive and the person that I need to apologize to is myself. So anyway, I'm trying to remember. Oh right, so I'm reconnecting with my dad after 5 years. That older man, he actually inspired me, and using ChatGPT as a resource. To reach out to my dad again and tell him why I hadn't reached out was because I wanted an apology, and my dad took accountability, and we had very mature conversation about it, and he came down to visit me in Utah for a week, and it went really well, and that led to me spending an entire month in Hawaii with my uncle from my dad's side, which was super transformational and healing, and I learned a lot about the world and myself, and I developed a really strong connection with God, and I'm, you know, coming to a greater understanding of what God is to me, because I think that something spiritual, even if it's, you know, tied in with religion, is a very personal process. I don't think that you can devalidate anybody's beliefs, because if they're yours, you know, and nobody can really change those. You can say that people can influence them, but in the end, you're the one who chooses to believe something. So now I'm spending that time with my dad, because I decided to come down and visit him for Christmas and the holidays, and I'll be here for 6 more days. Then I'm going back to Utah, where I live. With my aunt and my uncle. And my 2 little cousins. And anyway, now that I've kind of talked about that, and just, you know, letting my thoughts wander, I gotta find my cigarette. Okay. I just wanted to talk about kind of what's going on in life right now, and even then I'm kind of facing that pressure and putting on myself of like this video has to look a certain way, or like my thoughts have to be properly composed. But I don't know, I'm in like a very weird stage because I would call it like the best I've ever been, just in a sense that this is like the farthest that I've ever gotten. Like I've learned a lot and I have a very different perspective on life, but in some ways I also feel stagnant, and I think part of it is just like the environment. Like there are some behaviors that are just naturally encouraged because other people are doing them, like spending a lot of time on screens. My younger sisters and, you know, my dad and everything. We do have those moments of connection. Like I've had some super deep conversations with like my stepmom, which I really admire her and look up to her as a person now. And you know, being able to like play cribbage with my family, I really enjoy that. But I don't know, it's just like I'm in this weird like transitional stage, and understanding that like nobody's perfect, including myself, but also trying to treat myself with that love and respect that I deserve. But I have a really hard time doing that because my needs are pretty neglected. Like I would say I'm not really eating the best, and my sleeping schedule is like really fucked up. I go to bed at like 4 to 5 a.m. and wake up at like 2 to 3 p.m., which has been something I've been doing for a while. I quit my job at the end of October. I was working as a server at this little sushi restaurant called Fuji Sushi, and I worked there for like a whole year, and I learned a lot. I'm very grateful for that experience, even though there were some parts of it that, you know, impacted me. And I wouldn't even say like things negatively kind of were, I mean, things can negatively impact you, but like the way that I look at it is like there's not really a negative or a positive. It's just like an experience without judgment type of thing. So my coworkers, you know, like I basically interjected my way into their life because I really cared about them, and they didn't really reciprocate that because of their own issues. Like I would always reach out and try to make plans and really try to help and support them, but they just were not really, you know, cooperating. They didn't seem to really have a desire for the connection that I was lending them. And I was also being drastically like underpaid and basically taken advantage of for my work. Like at the sushi restaurant, it's like a small little one that's like owned by a Chinese lady, and basically all of the workers there are Chinese as well. I was being like a host and a server and a busser, and you clean, and you don't really get, you get paid $3 an hour plus tips, but like for how much I was working, like so underpaid. And eventually I realized like this place, like everybody here is stagnant. They're not growing in life. Like they've been working here for 2 years, and like some of them like they don't have even a license, and when they should have a license, I guess. But it's more just the fact that like they're not like trying, like they're not motivated to do something. And I was in a stage where I was growing a lot, and I feel like I needed to be supported or like surrounded by people who were also growing. And so, you know, I started to build up like resentment for these people that I was working with, and I realized like that doesn't like fall in line with who I am. Like I don't want to ever hold resentment for people, especially when it's not personal. And so even if it feels personal, and so, you know, I quit my job. But ever since then, like since I've been unemployed, I guess, like I don't, and obviously I spent like a month in Hawaii and I've been traveling a lot, and so like, you know, I get it, but I feel like I haven't really had that like routine, and I haven't had like these responsibilities to kind of like keep me in check, to keep me motivated. Because like the hardest part, like that all or nothing I'm talking about, like it's either literally doing all of it at once, like working like so much, and you know, going to the gym 4 to 5 times a week, and hanging out with people constantly, and dating and hanging out with friends. Like I was avoiding being alone because like I still am like afraid of being alone, and it's not like necessarily to that same like extent. Like I can sit like by myself, like sure, but I tend to be really distracting myself lately, like with screens, you know. And I just feel like there's not really a whole lot going on. Like I feel pretty stagnant in life. So when I get back to Utah, I 100% plan on like getting a job and everything. I feel like I can hear someone who just like came out of the house, but I don't know, not really sure. Anyway, so that should definitely help me. But yeah, it's just like this weird like transitional type of phase where like I don't, it's weird. My brightness just went down for some reason. Oh well, I just accidentally ended and started a new video, so I'll have to clip that chat. Anyway, I do feel kind of stagnant in life, but I'm hoping that when I get back to Utah, you know, things will become more on track, I guess. and the hardest part for me is kind of just like starting. Like it's either I do that all or nothing. But yeah, the hardest part is kind of just like starting again. And like I said, this is the farthest I've gotten, and so it's like I don't really know where to go from here. Like I have all these like hopes and these dreams, but it's like I really gotta like lock in and like find a way to, I guess, pull myself together again, and like reframe like the way that I'm kind of going about life, in order to keep going, because I think that a lot of the ways that I'm treating myself is not really serving me. But it's also kind of just believing that I'm doing the best that I can. I started like sending emails to myself. Like I created a new email account and then I started sending them to myself, and responding like I'm a therapist and a friend, and it kind of helps me bridge the gap. I have a really hard time connecting with myself because in a way I've learned to disconnect in order to shield myself from that abuse that I've subjected myself to, in the past. And so it can be hard making the time and space to have a conversation with myself, because like in the back of my head, like who I am is just not really present. And so kind of like, I don't even know how, but writing emails kind of like separates like myself from myself, and it makes it easier to have those conversations in a way that I also feel it. Using ChatGPT has really helped me too. Like I literally use ChatGPT for everything. If I ever have just like a random question, I use it for that. But if I'm, ever confused about an experience that I have, or I need some more clarification, or I want to, work on my poetry, I'll send it to ChatGPT and ask for suggestions. And my poetry obviously holds it is my heart, it is my soul. And it's been a coping skill and a safe place that I've had since I was 13 years old. When my mom died, I just started writing and I really liked it, and I guess I just never stopped. But like I've always been a writer. Like even since I was a kid, I was like obsessed with a series called Warrior Cats, and that was a very core part of like my identity as a child. So I'd like write all these stories about cats, and I got very, you know, experienced with writing over time. So now that poetry is more of like a very close part to my heart, and I realize that's what kind of sticks with me. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what to talk about, but I kind of like having this space, and every week I just want to raw dog a video and just post like my thoughts and just like me talking and stuff. It's really fucking cold out here, holy fuck. I have a very loving boyfriend right now, and I feel very grateful and very lucky to have him in my life, and something just feels right about him. Like, all my friends and my family and stuff would tell me, like, Ariel, you just need to be single, because, like, I broke up with my boyfriend last year, January, which is so crazy. It's been a year now. Like, I guess that's something I want to talk about. Like, it's been a year, and, like, things happen and things change in ways that you never thought that they would change. I felt very codependent on him, and I just felt like I needed to grow, and I didn't really understand that at the time. I wasn't able to express myself or find the words, and so the way that we went about the breakup, like, the breakup itself was really good because we cried and, like, we talked about, like, all our favorite memories together, and, how much we love each other. And then it was going back to each other for 3-4 months after that, and that was very damaging for us because we were super codependent. That only like confirmed like that thought that I had in my head, because like neither of us really had the strength to walk away, because like we loved each other, but like I was very depressed at the time, and so we kind of just treated each other poorly. But it's like I lost like my identity. Like I didn't know who I was without him, because like when I was a child and stuff, I feel like I really built my identity off of my grandpa's pain and his trauma, because I carried it for him for a long time, since I was like 4 years old when my uncle died of like overdose, and my grandpa would tell me like I wouldn't be alive without you. And for a 4-year-old, I think that that's a very heavy thing to say, and because I'm such an empath, I knew that he couldn't really carry this pain because he couldn't take accountability for his own pain. He couldn't process or heal from that trauma of losing a child, and also just everything that led to that. So I carried it for him, and then I feel like I kind of became like my grandpa's pain in a sense, and I was like the parentified daughter is like the easiest way to put it. And even as a kid, like I think because I just think and I feel things like so complex, it's very like overwhelming, and I've always just had like this sort of like disconnect, because like in some terms or whatever, like me and my aunt that I live with, we had a conversation. She's like, why do you feel like you were like neglected from your grandpa? Like, not physically or anything, but like emotionally. And I felt like I literally couldn't process it for like weeks. Like I was processing it, but like it just like took time. And I didn't know how to answer her. I was like, I'm gonna come back to this conversation when I'm ready. And for me now, I realize like it doesn't necessarily matter if I was or not neglected, because once again, like, it doesn't devalidate my own experience, but it also makes me wonder, like, in the sense that I really need to feel things on a level that a lot of people have never been able to give me, or just like aren't able to give me, including myself. I have always just been emotionally neglected because like no one can connect with me on the level that I require. So I just felt very alone and isolated as a child, and I didn't really know who I was. Like, I don't think I mean, like, in some ways I did, but I didn't have that like intention or like that self-sentience behind it. And then once I got with that ex that I was dating for a year and a half and things ended, I attached myself to him because I had a low self-worth. And as soon as I, moved out of my grandpa's house to live with my aunt and my uncle, I immediately got into that relationship, and we spent every single day together for a year and a half. I mean, like, I didn't know who I was without him, really. Like, I didn't really hang out with friends or whatnot, or like see my family a whole lot, and so I just didn't really like. And then when things ended, it's like I don't know who I am. Like, I wasn't my grandpa, but I wasn't him, so I felt like the absence of is a really good way to describe it. Like, I felt like this void of who I was. And so once that ended, I was like, oh, what do? I go and sleep around with people. I'm gonna attempt to replicate the feeling, the connection, the security that he was able to offer me. So that's why I went and slept with people, because I was trying to replicate lost parts of me. Yeah, so I can hear him outside. And then after that, it was like me distracting myself by dating and situationships, because like I didn't know how to be alone, because like I didn't want to sit alone with myself and like the feelings that I had been pushing away for so long and distracting by doing everything except sitting with it. And then I met that older man who was extremely transformational and like spoke to my pain. And I didn't really feel like I had anyone that kind of just like cut through this veil of myself and spoke to myself, spoke to that pain that I'd been harboring for so long, or didn't have the words to articulate it, really. And so that I started to kind of look deeper. And when I was out in Hawaii, like, I know who I am. Like, I'm empathetic and I'm kind, and I've always seen like the better in people. I'm a writer, I'm a poet, I'm well composed. I believe that I have a good vocabulary and I can articulate my thoughts well, and I'm loved. I am love. I don't know. I like having that deeper passion. I like sharing things with the world, and so I know my core beliefs and everything like that, and what a relationship looks like and all these things, but like navigating that, like the hardest part for me is action, like taking action. And I tend to like over intellectualize myself, like everything that I'm thinking. I tend to ask so many questions about it that it gets me confused, and I kind of get lost in the sauce. I get lost in the process of trying to figure it all out, because like I have this inherent need to understand this deeper something I've always felt. So sometimes I need to take a step back and just start taking action. But it's also like I'm, in a sense, more in tune with the universe than I am aware of, and I have a faith and a belief that everything will work out the way that it's meant to work out, and things happen for a reason. And so I guess I believe that, like, I'll start to take action, I'll start to do these things when like I'm meant to. Going back to Utah will help. I'm grateful for this time that I'm being able to spend, even if it doesn't look perfect or look how I guess I want it to look in some ways. So yeah, I don't really know exactly what else to add here. It's just kind of me rambling and stuff, but I just feel like I need to say thank you right now, and thank you for myself, you know, like I'm grateful that I'm posting these videos. Like, thank you, Ariel, I guess. And I'm grateful for the people in my life who support me and who do their best to be patient and understanding and offer me that unconditional love and see me for more than the potential of the person that I could be. And even then, sometimes it's frustrating because like I see this potential, like I have this vision in my head of like a future Ariel that like I'm just infatuated with, like having a motorcycle and living on a little beach house, like a tiny little cozy beach house with like a couple cats, because like I love cats, and maybe even a dog or something. Like I really like animals, and having a loving partner and waking up in the morning to get a cup of coffee and sit out on my porch and watch the ocean and, you know, talk with my partner about what our plans are for the day, and you know, going on bike rides and helping people. Like I used to see myself as like going to college and becoming a cognitive behavioral therapist, but now like I know that I can help people without spending so much money and so much of my time by going to college. And especially with social media, like the wonders of it now, like a lot of people create self-help programs, and they can make a lot of money off of it. Like you can just spend like 2 to 3 years getting like the certificates you need, and then you can make a lot more money by helping people on a much larger scale. And so I can see myself kind of doing something like that, being a motivational speaker and an advocate, and sharing my journey and talking about it, like podcasts and videos and an influencer and all these things. So I guess I would do something like that, you know. But basically a very fulfilled life. I would take care of myself, I would go to the gym, I would make really yummy meals. Like money would never have to be an issue. I'd be able to spend as much time with my friends and my family as I want, and most of all, I would have more of a cohesive, fluent balance to my life rather than this kind of all or nothing whiplash I've experienced. And sometimes it gets frustrating because I see the potential that I have to be this person. I see how smart and how capable and how creative and passionate and empathetic and kind I am, and I realize how much power I hold, and how I can be this person that I want to be. But it feels so far away because like I'm at the very beginning, but it's also learning to kind of enjoy the process and realize like this is part of the process. Like I would not be able to be that person if I was not that person right now, or if I wasn't that person I was a year ago when like I broke up with my ex and I thought like the entire world was ending type of thing. So yeah, I don't know. Thank you for listening if you did listen to this, and thank you, Ariel, for posting this. But anyway, sending love, and I'll do this every week. Bye.